Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, Aaron, with Evolution Daily, and I am joined today by the one, the only Tripp of TrippAdvice.com. What's up, Tripp?
What's up, man? Happy to be here. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah, thank you for doing it, man. I really appreciate it. For those of you guys who are not already subscribed to Tripp's channel, which I would assume most of my subscribers are, I mean, you're a megalith at this point, 280,000 YouTube subscribers. But if you guys have not subscribed to his channel yet, then be sure to just head over there. Right after the interview, it's is it youtube.com/TrippAdvice?
Yep, that's it. Very simple.
Perfect. And then I'll go ahead and include a link in the description below as well. But yeah, man, thank you so much for doing the show. I wanted to jump right into basically just sort
Yeah.
of asking about where it all began. You know, I discovered your channel just a few months ago or so, and I had headed over to the website and I found you have a biography there, an autobiography sort of how you got your beginnings with dating and coaching men on dating advice and all these things. And you said that back in, I think it was about 2008, you were really struggling. I mean, you just sucked with girls, and it was that you just weren't having a fulfilling dating life, and you started going out a lot, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's interesting is uh, right before then, I was doing some dating, but it was mainly online dating.
Mm,
So, and this is at the cusp of when online dating was like just starting to become normal, like just at the point where people were okay speaking to other people saying, "Hey, I met this person online." So it was like
right.
just starting to be normal, just to get an idea of like where that was at. So
Mm,
that's not the reason why I did it, but either way, that's just kind of where online dating was. It was like it wasn't really 100% accepted to be like, yeah, I met this person on this date. You're like, oh, you did,
yep.
really? Now it's like, oh, I met this person on Tinder. No big deal. No one
I
cares. No one judges.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember it being this creepy thing. Like, I specifically remember being out at a bar with a bunch of friends, and a guy friend of mine shows up with this girl, and we're like, "Oh, how'd you guys meet?" And they both like looked at each other and they're like, "Do you want to tell them? Do you want to tell them?" And it was like this weird
Yeah,
thing where no one wanted to talk about it. Whereas now it's like, "Oh yeah, Tinder, whatever," you know?
yeah. If you go on a profile now, you might see a girl say something like, "Oh, we'll just tell them we met at Trader Joe's."
Yeah,
So that you'll
yep,
you'll get one of those.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but anyways, so yeah, so I was doing some online dating, and I didn't really want to admit to myself at that point, but I was doing online dating at that point because I was too scared to go and approach women, and I was kind of pushing away this whole idea that you can meet a girl in person that wasn't online or wasn't being introduced to them, or some girl you happen to just meet at a party randomly. Like those are the things in my mind of like how you met girls. Well, I guess technically not online so much, but that was a really good avenue for me to do so I
Yeah,
could avoid meeting girls in person because I was too freaked out and had no idea what to do.
right.
So I did online dating, and it did well. Like I hooked up with girls. It wasn't a
Hmm.
complete failure. Like it worked. I got dates. I hooked up. Whatever. I wasn't really able to find the types of girls that I wanted to date. So after doing it like hardcore, I'm talking like every night after work, coming home and like typing like all the shit. After like a month, maybe a month and a half, I was like, this sucks. I'm like,
Mm.
all right, I can't do this anymore. I need to suck it up. I need to go out there and start approaching. So I found a lair, one of those pickup lairs in
Yeah.
Southern California. I actually went to a couple of the meetings and met the guys, and it sounds so creepy, but actually good guys, like really just good guys, just like me, just like you, just trying to figure out this whole girl thing. So it's not as creepy as it sounds. But I met some of those guys, and yeah, we got together and we started going out and doing approaches. And I remember my first night going out, I was so scared. I went off for like 4 hours. I didn't talk to any girls. I was like sober, going into like some bars, some clubs on the street. And I was so intimidated and freaked out. Even just
Mm.
talking about it, like it brings me back into that moment of like, I remember how that felt.
Yeah.
So it's funny when guys are like scared and talking about that. It's like no one gets it more than I do. Like I get it. Like I was really there. Like the whole bio is very real on the website.
Yeah.
Um, And so yeah, it was a very slow process, like, okay, so the first night, no approaches. The second night, I think, like, I said hi to a girl and like kept walking,
Mm.
and the third, and then it just kept building so slowly. And eventually it got to the point where I was able to start going up to girls and having conversations. Didn't maybe go anywhere per se, but I was able to do that. Yeah, that was the biggest leap right there, was being able to start conversations out of nowhere. Pretty much everything after that was simple, but that was the hardest part. So once I got to that part, once I get to the part where I was able to start conversations out of nowhere with girls I didn't know, it started to get a little bit easier. It was, well, I'll just say it was different challenges at that point. It wasn't fear anymore. That was something I had to get over. And that, to me, I feel like is one of the hardest things for guys. So for me, it was like I got over the fear. Now everything else is just technical at this point. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does. Well, and it's funny how you talked about how you spent a large period of time going out without actually even doing the approaches and without actually, even like doing the thing that you were going out to do. But the crazy thing is and I remember having this when I first started doing pickup or, going out and trying to meet girls and things, was that it was when I would first start going out, these weren't even venues that I was used to ever being in my life. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
used to, I used to drink a lot and things like that. But when I was going out to sort of like smaller bars and sort of like, not really the big clubs and things. And that's where I started going out to a lot when I started doing pickup. And I remember that shock just immediately of like, oh God, people everywhere, crazy music. I mean, this is insanity. So even though you weren't actually doing the action yet, you still were sort of like, in a way, priming your brain to get used to even being able to function in that environment in a sense.
One of the first things you should do is don't go out with intentions of, I'm going to get a girl's number tonight.
Mm,
Let's take like 10 steps back and let's say instead, go out sober with in the back of your head intentions of like, I might talk to a girl, but just go out and feel the energy and feel the vibe and just go out there without any goals of even talking to women. If you're that scared,
yeah.
try that first. And then if it happens, great. If it doesn't, well, let's work our way up to the next time. I'm all about baby steps. And I think
Mm,
guys try to jump really far, really fast, and then they fail and lose confidence. And then they, end up emailing me or you or saying something like, I can't do it. It's like, well, we got to take it one step at a time.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And also too, what you're doing then when you set out with goals of like, okay, I'm going to sleep with a girl, or I'm going to make out with her, or I'm going to get her phone number. What you're doing then is you're putting the threshold of success for yourself into the hands of somebody else. So you're basically making it so that you have to achieve this certain goal that's entirely dependent upon somebody else's reactions and behaviors, as opposed to if you just take it back to exactly what you're saying, you're putting it within your own capabilities. There's nobody or no thing in the world that can stop you from, at least, like you said, making your approaches, starting conversation, going out, those sorts of things. So it's taking it away from it's taking it away from those interactions going well and putting it into a place, again, like I said, where you have full control, which is just you are going to have the interactions, you're going to make it happen, and
Right.
nobody can really stop that, which is awesome. You
Yeah.
you had a video where who was it that was filming you? You were doing like a video project for somebody, right?
So yeah, that was a buddy of mine, Spencer Burnett. He runs a website for guys to learn all things personal development. So he's like, "Hey man, I'm interviewing a bunch of people. I want you to come by and I want to interview you, and we're going to put this like in the membership area." And so he asked me a question that was a good question that I get a lot, and it was one that I was planning on making a video on,
Mm,
and we did it. And then at the end of it, I was like, I don't think I can do better than that. I was like, I think that's the best way I can make that, and I don't really like doing videos twice where
yeah.
I have to do it again because it always comes out better the first time. It's different if you're in the moment making a video and you kind of screw up and you say something differently or edit it, but like coming back the next day to do it again when you've
Mm,
already done it really well, it just never turns out the best. So I was like, yo, bro, I need that. I
yeah.
need to put that in the YouTube channel. That was good. I said that exactly how I wanted to say it. So he has it somewhere. in his membership here. I don't know. It might even end up on his YouTube channel. And so then, yeah, just put that up. So it was mainly for him, but then, yeah, we put it up on the channel.
Yeah, so just so my viewers know exactly what I'm talking about, basically what ended up happening was he had phrased a question to you in a way that you had never really heard it before. And, I mean, to sum up the question, it was basically he asked you essentially, what is like the one thing, right? It was sort of like, what is the one piece of advice, or the one way that you could really sum up, dating for men? And you got really deep into the whole idea that really when you look at a lot of technical issues and these things that can be pinpointed, like I'm having a hard time with physicality, and my conversations aren't going to blah blah blah, you look at all these like outer things, and you basically summed it up into saying that a lot of it comes down deeply to self-esteem, right? Even before I was ever doing Evolution Daily or doing any coaching or anything like that, I used to I remember I had this girlfriend once who I said straight up, I said like, I'm really like disappointed in like who I've been lately. And I remember like telling her, it's like so weird because I remembered it when I watched your vid. I remembered telling her, I was like, I can't expect you, like in my language, I was like, I can't expect you to be stoked on dating me if I'm not stoked on like myself. And I think that that is like a massive issue that a lot of guys have, which, in that video, you break down how so many guys become very dependent upon the routines and the techniques, right? But it's not, but it goes so much deeper than that. So, what sort of advice would you give to a guy right now who's watching this video, and he's hearing this and he's understanding, he's like, yeah, that's me. I'm not where I need to be with my self-esteem at this moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple of answers. I think one thing is that think in this specific case, because I can't really answer it in terms of like self-esteem, in terms of maybe other things going on in your life, but I think when it comes to self-esteem and dating, I think a lot of guys relate their worth to the quality of women that they can get.
Yeah.
And they even do it on a smaller level, like they'll do it even if they're not able to get any women. So they take every little thing that ends up happening to them and they just take in, they're like, oh, it's a reflection on me. And I say, well, a couple things. One, it's really a reflection on your skill. It's not a reflection on you as a person. you know Maybe it's different if you've been in a relationship for 5 years and the girl dumps you.
Yeah.
Again, then it could be a reflection on you.
Big time.
But it also could be about skill too. I mean, there are skills in relationships, skills like communication and understanding how your woman is feeling and knowing how to give her love and all that stuff. That's a whole other topic. But I just say guys should try to understand that just because it doesn't really work out with a girl, or she dumps you, or she rejects you, it doesn't equate to the value of who you are as a person.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like the first step of like awareness, understanding that. They kind of take this stuff way too seriously. Like they take picking up girls and meeting girls so seriously. And I get it because I was doing that. So I kind of wish someone said what I'm about to say to myself, like I wish I said that to myself, whatever it was, 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And it's basically that if you take yourself too seriously, then you're going to be very outcome dependent. And then you will take things again too seriously and related to who you are as a person, when in fact you should really try to be having more fun.
Yeah.
I think and I did start to do that. I think that's why it worked out for me pretty well, because I did start to do that. I started treating it like, for lack of a better word, I did start to treat it like a game.
Yeah.
But I think I did it not in the really unhealthy way where I didn't look at women as like people. That's where it starts to get a little hazy. We
Right.
start not treating humans like humans. I was having really genuine connections, but I also was like, hey, let's make it a goal to talk to 10 girls tonight.
Mm.
Whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? So, and that was fun for me. Like I liked the challenges that came along with it. I liked the game of it, like the challenges of getting better and being better at it. Again, all while doing my best, because it wasn't perfect either, like trying not to relate who I was as a person just because a girl rejected me. And I learned that because I finally, with so much experience under my belt of doing it, I noticed that some girls would reject me and other girls would not. Well, that means that it doesn't have to do with who I am. It doesn't have to do with who I am as a person. It all depended on either the skill level, or it depended on, I don't know, how the girl was feeling that day, or the connection you have with someone. I call it the X factor. It's something
Hmm.
that just, it's not something you can necessarily conjure up or facilitate. It kind of just happens with certain people where you guys just get each other.
Yeah.
And that will happen with some people, and other people it won't. And that has nothing to do with who you are as a person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it always kind of comes back to that idea. So I always say to guys is do your best to make this fun for you. Make the conversations fun for you. Make dating fun for you.
Hmm.
If you're trying so hard, it's not going to be as fun. You're only going to be solely focused on the outcome, and you'll never get there. You will never, ever, ever get there until you start making it more enjoyable in every sense of the matter.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I used to do stand-up comedy a lot, and I still do it every once in a while as a hobby, but I used to really want to get famous at it. And one of the quotes that I always heard that always stuck with me was something from Mitzi Shore, who she's the owner of the Comedy Store out in LA. And tons of famous comics have come out of there: Steve Martin, Joe Rogan, Robin Williams, I mean Eddie Murphy, tons of guys. And one of the things that she had said to a comic was that the best comedians in the world, 50% of the audience loves them and the other 50% hates them. And the whole idea there is really that any time that you do something great, you become polarizing in one way or another. You're not for everyone. You're not this cookie cutter product that is going to be, sold to the, you're not a paper towel that's going to be sold to the masses. And that's the fact of the matter is, when you go out, I made a video about this a while ago about the idea of like disassociating who you are, your ego, your being, and everything, disassociating that from the guy who's trying to go out and get better with girls, because it's exactly along the lines of what you're saying here, which is guys get approached, or rather, I'm sorry, they get rejected, and they view it as like that girl just stared into my soul and I bared it for her and she just sent me on my way. And it's like, no, dude, like you were a stranger. She's trying to have happy hour with Jessica right now, and you came up, asking her opinion on who lies more, men or women or whatever it is. And yeah, I think that I've fallen into that myself. I really have. I've fallen into the loop of getting so attached to my results that even though I would go out and have a great time, have a lot of fun, maybe even like make out with some girls and stuff, it was like I got to this point where I'm like, if I'm not sleeping with new girls, I'm not doing well. And you really have to break out of that cycle, and it's poisonous. Well, hey man, thanks a lot. We've had a little bit of connection issues on this, but I think that people are still really definitely going to get a lot of value out of it, and it's been fun talking to you. Like I said, guys, if you are subscribed to my channel and you're not yet subscribed over to Tripp, then be sure to head over there and check that out. The links will be in the description below, and I'll link to his website, and you can find everything he's working on there. But thanks a lot for doing the interview, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me the truth.